Watford are in a period of transition. The club which rocketed to fame under Graham Taylor and the loving commitment of Elton John find themselves strangely in limbo. In 5 short years they've travelled the yellow brick road together from Division 4 to Division 1, enjoyed the glamour of an FA Cup final appearance against Everton and thrilled to the rhythm of European competition. Sadly, that glory is now past history. Taylor's departure left a void neither Harry Bassett nor Steve Harrison were able to breach. With Elton John's swan song also sung, the club's immediate fate rests in the hands of Colin Lee, a relative managerial rookie who's asked to orchestrate his out-of-tune players. Can Lee find the lost chord? We shall see over the next 68 minutes. The reality of Colin Lee's task is highlighted in the 41st minute of the season, when Joe McLaughlin fails to claim his header and Chetty Sheringham makes him pay dearly. Little Malcolm Allen scuttles past the challenge to shoot past David James from 18 yards. In the second half, Alan Devonshire's rather futile attempts to halt Jimmy Carter go unheeded. Carter's cross is deep, yet predictable. But oh, who is supposed to be marking Malcolm Allen? 2-0 to the Lions, and 68 minutes gone. Some defenders seem stunned, others just argue. None seem to grasp their own failings. Vicarage Road is stung into life eventually with this 73rd minute reply. Paul Wilkinson times it well and finds his man. Andy Kennedy finishing in a flash with an unstoppable shot. But it's not enough to prevent the Lions taking all 3 points. Watford 1, Millwall 2. At Home Park, Watford run into a Plymouth side determined to establish their first win of the season. Goalkeeper David James deals well with the Argyle aerial attack, but has no answer to a visionary masterpiece from Andy Thomas. In the second half, Watford put on a gutsy show, and it's no surprise when big Joe McLaughlin scores a point-saving goal with a tremendous header. Plymouth 1, Watford 1. West Ham United present a daunting task, but the Hornets surprise the Hammers at Upton Park with the quality of their game.
Really established himself at Morley here, with another great save by the young keeper. Paul Wilkinson snaps on it. Drysdale making ground, the shot there from Wilkinson, and that wasn't far away. Kevin Keane. Macaveni, oh, and down goes Keane, that's a penalty, no doubt about it. What a clever back heel that was too, to set up the opportunity for Kevin Keane. Oh, and he gets it in, the keeper got a touch, but Dix shoots West Ham into the lead.
And that penalty from Dix means Watford have taken just 1 point from their opening 3 games. An ominous start to the season.
Steve, it came all right at the end, but you really got stuck in at the deep end at Watford.
Yes, well, that's why the job became available, because the club was in trouble league-wise, position-wise. So I was delighted to take the job. I'd resigned at Brentford just before the season started. Was out of work for 3 months. Luckily, I was scouting for Middlesbrough in the south part of the country, and therefore I was watching a lot of second division games. So when the offer came to join Watford, it was terrific for me, because I had knowledge of second division clubs in the recent months.
Colin Lee summed up the home defeat by Brighton with the unambiguous words, "We were rubbish." That's just 1 point from 4 league games. And Lee gave his side another verbal roasting after this defeat at Hillsborough. Only pointless Charlton are now below the Hornets. The misery continues when Notts County hand out a 3-1 beating at Vicarage Road, and Watford have now hit rock bottom in Division 2. There's no respite in the Rumbelows League Cup either. 5 minutes into the first leg tie at Carrow Road, and this happens. Mark Bowen, the number 3, plays a 1-2 with Robert Fleck, shrugs off this rather inept challenge from David Holsworth to set up Ian Crook. And there isn't a defender within 8 yards of the former Tottenham midfielder. Again, the damage is limited by the astute defending of David James, seen here making a marvellous stop as Fleck blazes goalwards. But life in the Watford goal can be frustrating. The game explodes when Rule Fox charges into David Holdsworth. It looks a foul in favour of Watford, but Holdsworth loses his head and eventually pays the price. After scenes like this, he can't argue with the referee's red card. And Watford are down to 10 men. The Hornets battle bravely, and James continues to offer defiant last line of defence. Then, when Keith Dublin is sent sprawling by Robert Fleck, the Scottish striker's dismissal evens up the odds.
At the end of the match, we will be asking you to stay on the ground for 5 or 10 minutes.
The tie seems poised for an interesting second leg when former Hornet Tim Sherwood rubs salt into the wounds. For once, David James fails to make the ball stick, and here is Sherwood to make the most of it, almost on the final whistle. It's a cruel, cruel blow. The league programme keeps Watford in East Anglia with a trip to Portman Road, home of 12th placed Ipswich Town.
In the second division, Ipswich had their problems against Watford, Paul Wilkinson putting Watford in front just after half-time. But Ipswich equalised midway through the second half. Brian Gale, the scorer.
So Ipswich won, Watford won, a performance praised by Colin Lee as the best of the season. The Hornets need to build on this as they play host to Hull, but a first-half goal by Swan inflicts another home defeat. 4 days later, Colin Lee's pep talk fails to lift the frowns as Middlesbrough hit 3 without reply. Watford, yet to win a single point at home, are anchored at the foot of Division 2 as attention returns to the Rumbelows League Cup.
Kicks it downfield. Fox is after that. Goes ahead of Holdsworth. Norwich pick it up again. Carverhouse laying it off to Dale Gordon. Still Gordon playing it out. It comes in, and this could be the first goal, and it is. It's a goal for Norwich. Comes out to David Phillips again. Ball played in, trying to find Robert Fleck, but it comes to Gary Porter, who eventually loses out to Fox again. Fox inside the area. Comes across, and the shot, and a great save from Robert Fleck. And a great save by David James. Taken off the ball well by Devonshire. Now it's Rod Thomas. Playing it through again, but losing out. Here's Fox. Playing off a nice ball to Goss. He's got Fleck inside. Goss, and here's Fleck. And Robert Fleck has scored a second. It's Rule Fox laying it off. And losing out now, it's Fox. Fox plays it across to Jerry Goss, and Goss has a shot. And it is 3-0. Well, once again, it was the defensive marking that didn't work, but here's Alex Inglethorpe with the chance, and just wide by Alex Inglethorpe. Playing back to Barry Ashby. Now Thomas again. Still Thomas. Played inside. Here's Inglethorpe, the shot, and it's saved by Brian Gunn.
That's 7 home defeats out of 7, and you've got to have a good sense of humour to be a Watford fan at this stage of the season. But the story hits a happier note at Ewood Park. Alan Devonshire's first goal for the club will sweep Watford towards their first win of the season.
So the Rovers defence has to contend with another corner. And he's got in there! Well, Andy Kennedy, I think, was more astonished than anything that it found its way into the back of the net, and his famous wiggle in front of the Blackburn end, but this time in a yellow shirt rather than a blue and white half one. But they could be in again, they certainly are. A quick reply. And this time it's Alan Devonshire.
So 2-0, and Watford have finally scored their first win of the season at the 12th attempt. The Hornets' first away success in 7 months, and the good form continues at Charlton.
Kenzie, another chance for the cross. Lee! Oh, what a nice goal! Robert Lee, what a fine effort! James takes the free kick. Oh, it's touched on, this could be dangerous. Gavin gets the crossover, comes down for Wilkinson, and the equaliser for Watford. Paul Wilkinson. So Watford it is who have the corner. Gavin takes it. Away by Lee, but it's straight to Gavin, who can hit it in again, and it's number 2, and it's Paul Wilkinson again. Well, Watford have really woken up in this game.
So 3 points which take Watford above Charlton at the bottom of the table. But oh, how the players must dread playing at Vicarage Road. Portsmouth are the latest to take advantage of the Hornets' demise. A single goal deciding the issue. 2 late goals provide a dramatic conclusion against Oxford. Paul Wilkinson's strike cancelled out by Mark Steen. At least Watford have secured the season's first point at home. Old boy Wayne Allison ensures Watford crash to a 9th defeat of the season when he scores twice at Ashton Gate. Next is the notorious plastic of Boundary Park, and Hertfordshire Hearts are hoisted high as David Holsworth beats Andy Ritchie to Gary Porter's free kick just 6 minutes into the game. Seconds later, Paul Wilkinson hands Ritchie the chance to atone from the penalty spot. Ritchie makes no mistake, and that's 1-1. It's Ritchie again with this impudent finish. Henry's cross, Palmer's touch, and whoops as the former United striker negotiates James's challenge. 2-1 to Oldham. Redfern makes it 3-1 with this fluently precise chip on the run. No wonder he's winding up the fans. And it's Henry himself who rounds it all off. No mistake, and that's Oldham 4, Watford 1. And that's the heaviest defeat of the season so far. But Oldham destined to win the Second Division Championship. Next, it's back to Vicarage Road and the first of 2 home matches against Bristol Rovers. A minute before the interval, Watford are sent reeling by that old home jinx. From the throw, Pounder gets goal side of David Holsworth, yet the Hornets still seem to have things in control until poor John Drysdale slices the cross past David James. You won't see a more direct approach than this. Drysdale's long punt, Wilkinson's header, and Andrew Kennedy steers home his first-time shot. So 1-1 the final score, but Watford have taken just 10 points from their opening 16 league games. Not surprisingly, Watford are 4 points adrift of Charlton at the bottom.
Looking at the way the team was playing, did you feel there was a big job to be done at Watford?
I think I'd seen them 2 or 3 times, and I felt there was a lot of bad luck going around. They'd obviously missed Penrice, who I think was injured in a pre-season friendly. Actually got kicked by an ex-Watford player, which put him out for some time, and Penrice at that stage is a very important player in the team for his goals. Obviously a lack of confidence had set in. Team, dwelling at the bottom of the table is not a good team to play in. coupled with injuries and a bit of depression about the place, then it looked as if it was never going to recover, unfortunately. And I suppose if you're the decision makers at the top of the club, you've got to decide how long you let that continue. And I felt that they wanted to give the chap in charge before me every chance for it to swing round and turn round. I think they got a couple of away results earlier on in the season that looked as if it was going to change the pattern of things, but unfortunately it didn't. A lot of home defeats, and any team that's losing at home is going to be in relegation trouble.
3 days later, Rovers returned to Vicarage Road and landed a 2-1 knockout in the ZDS Cup, a defeat which, in view of the serious league situation, causes little grief. It's a tale of 2 penalties at St James's Park. Newcastle United haven't won in 7 games, and their prospects of improving that run look dim when Andrew Kennedy is impeded in the box. No amount of protest will change Paul Danson's decision, but Gary Porter lets the Magpies off the hook from the spot kick. That about sums up Watford's season, but there's still no score as the game moves into the second half. And here's one of the reasons why. Another superlative save by David James. Mick Quinn can't quite believe it. Neither can James, who's exposed yet again by his ball-watching colleagues. It's not a case of ball-watching, more a case of armed robbery, as Joe McLaughlin commits a foul deed to line Quinn up against James. The Newcastle number 9 seldom misses from this range, though the Hornets keeper is desperately close. It proves unlucky for Colin Lee as well. The axe falls with Watford now 7 points adrift of second from bottom Charlton. Chairman Jack Petchey is still looking towards the playoffs, but new boss Steve Perryman will be satisfied with survival after the goalless draw with Barnsley. Gary Porter returns to the side at West Brom and plays a crucial role. It's his through ball which sends Andrew Kennedy surging into the danger zone. Naylor is penalised, and this time Porter's nerve and his left foot hold good. Some rough luck and indecisive defending give Albion the opportunity to rectify a run of 4 defeats in 5 games. Graham Roberts seems to have blown it as James guesses right and shows some positive handling skills to save the spot kick. Alas, Watford's jubilation soon turns to frustration as referee John Carter orders a retake. Roberts picks a different spot and shoots the face-saving goal. 1-1 the final score. So played to, drawn to under Steve Perryman. Can the new boss inspire the Hornets to a first home win of the season against Plymouth Argyle? It takes 56 edgy minutes to ease the tension. Jason Drysdale's near post cross being swept in by Paul Wilkinson. As Watford buzz around the Argyle penalty area like hornets round a honeypot, Plymouth look decidedly uncomfortable. They certainly didn't pick up this form of defending at the Soccer School of Excellence. Wilkinson's second goal, 2-0 to Watford, and their first win in 8 attempts, the first for new manager Steve Perryman. Not enough to improve the current league standing, but it's now Oxford United and Portsmouth who join them in the relegation zone. In the Lions' Den at Millwall, the action is fast and frenzied. First, Gary Porter tests Brian Horn. Then at the other end, Paul Goddard teases David James. When Paul Wilkinson wins his header, it's Gary Penrice making his first league start after a pre-season knee injury, who makes the most of the Lions' panic. Another set piece in the 35th minute provides Wilco with his just reward. That free kick by number 6 Alan Devonshire, reminiscent of Steve Perryman himself.
You overcame all those problems and made a good start in December, unbeaten. What do you put that down to?
I suppose a lot of things happen when a new manager comes in. It's a fresh approach, not necessarily better, it's a fresh approach, because we're all different in the way that we run teams and try and motivate and organise. So it was a new chance for the players. Maybe, I think 5 or 6 players have been brought in during the summer and hadn't started off particularly well. This was a new chance for them. This was a new manager. Probably some bad performances had been forgotten about because, you know, I wasn't here every day watching them. Some players at the club might have got the feeling that the old manager didn't quite rate them enough to put them in the team, but now this is a new chap and I can prove to him that I should be in the team. So everyone's going to sort of have a bit of a surge in spirit, if you like, and confidence and desire, because they want to prove to the new manager they're good enough to play. So I think that's what happens with any change of job, whether it happens in the season or at the end. Players put themselves out that bit more. We decided to go for a sweeper system. We thought that Glenn Roeder was, you know, the experienced player that we needed to play at the back to settle things down. It didn't look as if we were going to score many goals, and that's how it turned out. So we had to make sure we weren't going to concede many. Glenn came in and was a terrific influence on the field and off the field, and we didn't concede goals. We did get a few too many draws in that first sequence of games, but we were unbeaten. We went to Millwall and got a terrific win. It's a club that, you know, should be doing good things in the second division, and for Watford to go there bottom of the table and to win was a terrific result, and the surge of confidence was unbelievable. And we were just building up all the time, confidence upon confidence, and the players were getting more used to the pattern of play that we wanted, and so it was starting to look good.
At Filbert Street, Watford's restyled defence produced another clean sheet.
Devonshire, little flick forward to Wilkinson. Drysdale on the overlap, turned instead by Byrne. Good header coming in, and Wilkinson was just a fraction away from getting there. Third time lucky. In it comes. Header's there. Peels for handball. Play on, said the referee. Keith Hackett right on the spot. And a nasty situation could have developed. Ramsey and Byrne going in to each other. The linesman is having a firm word in Keith Hackett's ear. Keith Hackett wants to make absolutely certain what has gone on. It was just a very quick, sudden flare-up. And again, Mr. Hackett checking with the linesman. David Byrne and the Leicester captain Paul Ramsey. Well, Ramsey has already been booked. And that means that Paul Ramsey is going to get sent off because he's already been booked once. The red card for Paul Ramsey, and the same for David Byrne. And the two players have words as they go into the tunnel. Well, that really came out of absolutely nothing. The ball was cleared from the Watford penalty area onto this near side. Ramsey and Byrne got into a very nasty tangle. They were quickly separated, but the referee, to his credit, oh, and things really now starting to get very nasty indeed. And now Keith Dublin has been dismissed as well. And the experienced referee, Keith Hackett, dare I say, appears to have lost complete control.
That's 5 games without defeat, a solid start for the new manager. With just 1 goal conceded in 5 games under Perryman, confidence is now beginning to surface. Players are now eager for the ball, as Gary Penrice so dramatically illustrates, to exploit the unexpected. A cracking Watford goal, certainly worth a second look. A clever combination of passes allows Earl to square the score in the 56th minute. For a while Watford are unhinged and Earl hits the bar before substitute Rod Thomas charges away down the right to net the goal that moves the Hornets off the bottom rung. That's 3 draws, 3 wins and 12 points from Perryman's first 6 matches. A look at the league table confirms Watford's recovery. They've now moved 3 places off the bottom. Perryman has certainly made his mark at Vicarage Road. Two goals but just 1 point and a scare see out 1990. Visiting Swindon Town, managed by Perryman's former Tottenham colleague Ozzy Ardiles, take the lead in the 6th minute. Kerslake crosses and Shearer nods his 11th goal of the season, past the despairing grasp of David James. When Bodin swings a short free kick into the melting pot, Argentinian World Cup sweeper Lorenzo makes it 2-0 to Swindon. It's the 56th minute as Williams ploughs through the mud. David Byrne is a grateful recipient of the cross. It's his first goal. Watford certainly left it late to complete the fight back. The referee has already checked his watch twice when the ball runs free for Gary Penrice to net his 3rd goal in 4 games. So a stirring comeback is completed in dramatic fashion, and it's celebration time for Watford, unbeaten in 7 matches in the month of December.
At the turn of the year then, confidence was high, but then came 7 defeats in 11. You must have begun to fear the worst.
Yes, that all started off with a defeat, heavy defeat at Shrewsbury in the FA Cup. We'd like to think we prepared the team right, and we took them up to Lilleshall on the Thursday in the Midlands there to prepare. Friday morning we had 2 training injuries. Glenn Roeder did a kicking muscle and was out eventually for 6 weeks, and David Byrne got a rib injury. So we had to shuffle the team around. We decided to stick with the sweeper system during that game and for games after that. But we didn't have Glenn Roeder to do it, and we didn't have a natural successor to play that sweeper role. So we got a heavy beating, a deserved beating at Shrewsbury, and they went on to do better things. I mean, they beat Wimbledon in the next round, which is no mean feat. But it just started to slip away again. So that was a bit of a problem for us. Roeder out of the team. We were conceding goals where we hadn't done before. We certainly weren't scoring any more than we had done before. So the middle period of the season was really relegation form. I think we lost 7 games out of 11. And whereas we'd moved up the table after a good run of early results, we eventually slipped back down again and were languishing and right at the bottom.
Perryman's mood for 1991 is one of optimism. An optimism fired by an encouraging goalless draw at Wolves, which stretches the unbeaten run to 8 games. But the Watford manager who lifted the FA Cup for Spurs 10 years earlier will enjoy no cup glory in this year's competition. Table-topping West Ham United offer the sternest test yet for Perryman's new-shaped side. It's the Hammers who boast a classical reputation, yet it's Willie Falconer who turns on the style. Still no score as Tim Breaker centres, Trevor Morley's header bringing the best out of David James. Ludek McCloskey makes light of this effort from Gavin. And from his massive kick, Morley races through to finish with a bang. Looking at it from this angle, there seems an enormous target area to hit. No doubt Morley didn't see it like that. At Brighton, Watford fall apart with 2 penalties given away, McLaughlin booked and Falconer sent off. It's an unhappy trip to the seaside. Third place Sheffield Wednesday pose another severe examination, and it seems that Watford know all the answers. Gary Penrice's 12th minute effort, it's true, had little help on the way. The Owls seem set for a surprise defeat when Paul Wilkinson strikes in the 43rd minute. Thomas penetrates, Williams whips in the cross, and Wilkinson gets in behind Palmer. That's 2-0. Wednesday step up a gear after Ron Atkinson's half-time chat. Harks shows great authority and awareness as he teases before unleashing this blockbuster. With 10 minutes to go, David James is more aggrieved by the lack of a whistle than by the challenge. The defence lose concentration and shape as Trevor Francis centres. Hurst holds his ground, Williams takes off, but then who is there to stop him? A typical fight back by a Sheffield side heading for promotion, but really that's 2 points thrown away by Watford. The sun shines at Twerton Park, but beware, it's Watford's 13th game under Perryman.
Pounder's going to have to be quick though, and he is quick. He gets away from trouble and he frees Reese with a delightful ball. On this left side, Reese plays it forward, he's going to find Saunders, he has done. This is turning into a good Rovers performance here. Saunders, he's against Roeder. He's not now because Jones gets that cross in. Mayhew's header, there's Holloway, and that is 1-0, and Rovers quite deservedly in front. Beautiful move, Dave. What a great start to this game. Penalty. Watford have a penalty. Porter then with this penalty, and there it is. Watford are level. Give that ball to Saunders. Alexander again, there's the cross, and collected by James. And now this is a break on with Mark Gavin. There's the ball played forward, Devon White's on there, and that's rolling into the back of the net. It's in there. Rovers have scored 2-1. Devon White it is, and Rovers deservedly back in front. There's the ball forward. Devon White. Holloway. Alexander. Rovers really knocking the ball about nicely now. This is Holloway's in space. Plays the ball in. Saunders header. That is deserved. That is 3-1.
Apologies for a slightly biased commentary there from our man in Bristol. Meanwhile, that's 1 point from 3 games, and Watford are in the mire once more. Perryman angered by the show at Rovers. His team now hover just above rock bottom Hull on goal difference. But without Joe McLaughlin, the Hornets are light at the back against championship chasing Oldham. It takes the Latics a few minutes to expose Watford's weakness. Redfern the scorer. Redfern tests out the theory again with this lofted cross. It looks a clean winner until the post intervenes, leading Roeder and Ritchie a merry little dance. There, don't fret, you'll get it right next time, consoles Roger Milford, and Redfern nearly does. James stretching every sinew to tip it over. Meanwhile, this off-the-post routine is becoming a farce. Wilkinson against the woodwork. Porter's thunderbolt is going nowhere. And no joy either for Gary Penrice. His acrobatics can't fool John Hallworth. But Watford do finally get their equaliser. Paul Wilkinson, the hero. That's his second goal in 3 games and his 10th of the season. Watford, though, are still deep in the relegation zone, just 1 place off the bottom spot. So Watford still seek their first win of the new year as they set off for Barnsley.
But they need a goal as Archdeacon gets the loft on this one. Up in the air from James. Comes back for Ian Banks. And it's more Barnsley pressure to be exerted here by Archdeacon. In, and it's a good ball, and there's the goal for Barnsley from Andy Saville. Of course, Hull City will take more than a passing interest in this result as well, with Watford locked with them down at the bottom of Division 2. Archdeacon's corner, not a bad one, and that's 2-0 from Andy Ravel. Well, Barnsley have only been beaten at home by Oldham Athletic and Millwall this season, and it looks as though that's one record that'll stay today. As Devonshire comes into it and plays it forward, Penrice onside, and so is the full-back, and surely Watford can get one back here. Wilkinson, would you believe it? How did they contrive to miss that? There were 2 of them there. Porter whips in the shot now, Baker saves, and Barnsley breathe a sigh of relief. Double into Dobbin. Agnew, here is Saville, in between the 2 defenders. They were trying to give it away almost there, and still Watford unable to get themselves out of a tangle. You can see why they've conceded and lost so many matches this year. Byrne for Watford. A much improved second half though. Much more pep in the game now as Byrne supplies the ball in, and that's a glorious header from Gary Penrice. And Penrice gets his reward. He'd had one other chance in this half. Byrne with an excellent cross, and Penrice with the header steered inside that upright. It's his 5th, and Watford are back in it at 2-1 with about 18 minutes to go. Wilkinson brought down from behind. That's going to be a Watford free kick again, and they're right back in it. They need the points as much, if not more, than Barnsley, I suppose, in their precarious position. So Devonshire's free kick might open something up for them again here. Penrice! It should have been 2-2. It was a much easier chance than the one he accepted 2 minutes earlier. Devonshire's free kick driven in. Wilkinson was the important player to get the little flick header back to Penrice and driven against the legs of Clive Baker. Breaks for Devonshire. Drysdale. In the field is Penrice. Oh, and he's done really well here, Gary Penrice, and he stumbles over after Dobbin's challenge. It's a good spell for Watford. And Penrice is at the hub of it. And every Barnsley player has come back behind the ball now. Could either be Byrne or Porter this. They'll try and chip it over the wall. And it's Byrne straight into the wall. And this is Porter now. And he's got the second effort. Super stop from Baker. And Gary Porter is very adept in those situations. And Baker did well to see it coming at all. The goalkeeper took some stick last week after the defeat at Leicester, but he came back to form against Bristol Rovers, and that was the save of the day.
With 3 of the next 4 fixtures scheduled at home, Steve Perryman emphasises the dire need for maximum points. But the early indications against Newcastle are not encouraging. Even Liam O'Brien can't explain how he misses this one. Quinn's cross shot, Peacock thinks he's done enough. But along comes Keith Dublin with the juggling act of the year. More scares as Peacock shoots again, and Watford scramble. This Watford wall proves no deterrent to Anderson's blistering free kick in the 40th minute. With Gary Penrice now departed to Aston Villa for a cool £1 million, the onus for goals is very much on the head of Paul Wilkinson. He obliges as only he can do with this 48th minute equaliser. But then it's pure frustration as Wilco bungles a good cross from Falconer. In the end, it's Mick Quinn who stoops to conquer. His 72nd minute winner, dumping Watford at the foot of the second division yet again. At Boothbury Park, Wilkinson grabs his 12th goal of the campaign, but the Hornets have to settle for a single point as Hull City fight back. Nigel Callaghan on loan makes his home debut against Ipswich Town, but it's Gary Porter's free kick which does the damage. Steve Palmer heading firmly into his own net. Neil Thompson gets a second crack here. David James loses the flight of the ball, but David Linnigan keeps his head to guide home the equaliser. A point for Watford, but they're still rooted to the bottom of the table. By his own submission, draws are no good to Watford now, so Steve Perryman's team are under severe pressure against ailing Blackburn Rovers. 2 seasons ago, these two rivals were locked in combat for a place in the final of the second division playoffs. 7 minutes into the game, and Dobson's free kick penetrates the Watford wall, Steve Livingstone applying the finish. The final knockout comes in the calamitous final 7 minutes. Frank Stapleton can't wait to make it 2-0. Then comes a third from Steve Livingstone. A scoreline which distorts the balance of play, but the harsh truth is Watford are starting closer to the brink of the third division.
So there you were, stranded at the bottom of the table. There must have been times when you felt it really was a mission impossible.
Well, you do start to question what's going on. The players were getting more used to us and us to the players. We were making definite decisions on players that we wanted to play for us and players maybe that, you know, were on the fringe of things but weren't really going to get in unless there was an injury crisis. So we became quite set in our ideas. We had a heavy defeat against Blackburn here, and to lose any home game is a bit depressing, but to lose it and go rock bottom against fellow strugglers was a bit poor. The crowd actually went against us on that evening, and it was really the low point of the season. We sat in the dressing room after, and we had about 3/4 of an hour talk about it. And I mean, I suppose you could say it was a crisis meeting. There was no shouting and swearing. It was a chat about how we felt we were going to get out of trouble. That we felt we had to play football in a certain style, in a certain way, not to concede goals, not to lose games, and then, you know, really start again from probably where we'd started on December the 1st. Try to get that run of results going again, and then see how far that takes us. And eventually, that's how it worked out.
Middlesbrough's first division aspirations seem to count for nothing as Watford battle for their second division lives at Ayresome Park. Ever-present David James is once again a Watford hero. First of several fine saves, and his teammates show signs his efforts won't be wasted. Keith Dublin's miss looks promising for the Teessiders, but Bernie Slavin can find no way past James. It's more luck than judgment that denies Paul Wilkinson. But when it comes to luck, Borough's Jimmy Phillips can't believe his when his raking drive flies a fraction off target. It's down to sheer guts and determination from Ian Baird, that provides his 77th minute opener to give Borough the lead. Gary Porter is not a man you want to face at times like this. Just look at the deadly flight of the ball as he crashes the shot past the keeper's despairing dive. The Hornets might have been excused for settling for a point, but no one told David Byrne. The Watford sub grabbing a dramatic winner. The execution of the shot only matched by a celebration backflip. Certainly a moment to savour for Watford. It's their first win in 14 matches, a priceless 3 points that proves the turning point in the battle for survival.
Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, came that great win at Middlesbrough. That must have been a tremendous boost.
Yes. Middlesbrough were flying high. They were going for promotion, playoff place. I think 13 minutes to go, they scored and put us 1-0 down. And all looked lost, but eventually Gary Porter got a free kick and took it to good order, and a terrific goal. And David Byrne, who'd come on as a sub, scored, I think it was timed at 89 minutes 59 seconds. So it shows you how close it was. But it seemed to all go right from that moment on, and that was a terrific result. The players started to believe they could do it. And then we had a run of results. I think it was before the last game when we were safe, Bristol City. I think the 10 games previously, we won 7 of those, drew 2 and lost 1 to get ourselves out of trouble. And if someone had actually said that you needed to do that to get out of trouble, you probably would have packed it in and said, well, it's not possible. But it was possible. Credit to the players. They did the job we asked of them. They played to our system. We played not to get beat. And within that, we were snatching goals and getting 1-0 wins. 2 great away wins at Oxford and Portsmouth. 2 teams riding high themselves. So, yeah, eventually we got out of it, which was nice. And all credit to the players. They give us what we asked for. And, I mean, it's a big thing for a club like Watford to get relegated out of first. To actually get relegated out of second would have been an absolute disaster. I know a bit about the 3rd Division, having been there at Brentford, and it's an ugly football league. And that doesn't sound as though I'm very respectful to the 3rd, but it is said with respect that there's a lot of good people down in the 3rd, managing and playing. But it's an ugly football league, and we've got too many good players who didn't want to go into that. We added 2 players to that squad during the season. We sold Penrice to Aston Villa, which I felt was a correct decision. I know if it had gone wrong, if we'd have got relegated, that probably would have been the nail in the coffin. But we bought Peter Nicholas. He was a 1st Division player, international player for Wales, who decided to come to us with the possibility of going into the 3rd. So it was a hell of a decision for him to join us. I'm pleased for him that it's worked out, because he's now going to have 2 more years, hopefully, in the 2nd Division if we don't go up, which is where his ability deserves to be. Steve Butler, we took a chance on from the 4th Division, and although he only scored 1 goal in his running of games to the end of the season, he helped make goals for Paul Wilkinson. He was part of the team unit, and he worked very well attacking and defensively. So I think those 2 players did us a favour. But Watford is about producing their own players. A hell of a lot of good youngsters here. We eventually ended up with Ashby in the side regularly. Jason Solomon came in and did good things over the last 3 or 4 games. Jason Drysdale, unfortunately, didn't finish the season off in the side, but was a good player throughout for us. David James, the Player of the Year, had a fantastic season when you think that he started off pre-season training as the 3rd choice goalkeeper. The previous season, I think he'd only played reserve games on and off with Mel Rees. He got thrown in the deep end when Tony Cotton and Rees left, and he's coped, and he's made a lot of big clubs sit up and take notice of him. Our supporters give him the Player of the Year, and I think he fully deserved it. And for a relegation side, we didn't concede that many goals, and that must be some credit to his goalkeeping. Obviously to the team organisation and the team shape. But we've got a lot of good young players here. Nigel Gibbs has been a stalwart over the years, sometimes unsung, because he's been here so long. But a regular performer for us. He stuck at it and he worked and worked, and will only improve with time. He did good things for us. Glenn Roeder, I mentioned before, in that sweeping position. Great experience, helped the youngsters along. So there was a lot of pluses to come out of the season. David Holdsworth, unfortunately, got injured within 15 minutes of our first game against Barnsley. I'm delighted for him that we've maintained our second division status, because he's a player who doesn't deserve to be below the second. And yet he was a player set up in the stand that couldn't actually do anything about it. At least the players out in the field could, put in that extra bit of effort, or, go and set their stall out to go and get a goal, or block a shot to stop us conceding one. David was set up in the stand with a, very badly injured knee. Fingers crossed that we weren't going to go down, so I'm delighted for him.
Watford's revival is underway, but for the moment they're still rooted at the foot of the table after draw number 14 at Port Vale. April the 1st and Paul Wilkinson proves he's nobody's fool, timing his run and jump to perfection. Wilkinson delighted, and the replay shows what a good goal it was. The Hornets rode their luck 11 minutes from time when Wright goes down under Barry Aspie's challenge. There's no escaping the inevitable, but who would predict in this game? David Kelly charged with the responsibility of the 12-yard kick. It must seem like 12 miles. And Watford have their first home win since Boxing Day. Swindon, though, a different proposition down in the West Country. The Tottenham influence is here as well, with Glenn Hoddle the new chief, and it's clear from the start it's going to be an open game. But in the 32nd minute it's Watford who score. Some clever work by Porter, opening up the game for new signing Steve Butler. That's his first goal for Watford. The Robins press hard to get back on level terms. Jones's long raking cross bouncing off the bar. Foley finds no way through the congested area. Then Butler comes closest with this fine effort. But then it's substitute Steve White who levels the game with his very first touch. 5 minutes later, Nigel Callaghan gets his name on the score sheet with this 25-yarder. Another fine win for Watford, and the last 4 games have yielded 10 points out of 12. So Watford have clawed their way off the bottom rung, but still they're a point behind West Brom and 4 short of Leicester and Plymouth. When Paul Wilkinson scores from Steve Butler's cross in the 19th minute, optimism is high. Wobbly Wolves haven't won away since October, but more significantly, they've never beaten Watford in the league. It proves to be Wilco's day. In the 67th minute, Clark can only touch on David James' long clearance, and the Watford striker does the rest. Then it's confusion as Glenn Roeder finds himself the wrong side of Colin Taylor. This is Wolves' first penalty in over 12 months, though Paul Cook doesn't look out of practice. That makes it 2-1. But there's going to be no denying Wilkinson this day. The game is in the final minutes when Dennison takes Butler's legs. It's Wilkinson versus Lange from the spot. And Wilkinson makes it 3-1, his first ever hat-trick in the Football League. Defeat at Notts County will end a 5-match unbeaten sequence, Paris' winner coming just 2 minutes from time. And it's time the Hornets are running out of in the fight against relegation. Charlton without a win in 5 games, and Willie Falconer shows just why, with a 5th-minute strike in off the post. In the 39th minute, Falconer puts Watford 2 up, rounding off Gary Porter's free kick. Charlton's defenders all at sea. But Charlton pull one back in the 70th minute. Darren Pitcher making the run, Paul Gorman getting the near post touch. But Watford hold on, and a precious 2-1 win. Only superior goal difference separates West Brom from Watford. It's the difference at the moment between relegation and salvation. If ever there was a crunch match, this was it. And when Don Goodman scores in the 52nd minute, it seems Watford's second division flame is nearing extinction. But no one can accuse these Hornets of not going flat out. Veteran Glenn Roeder launching himself to beat Wilkinson's cross. He doesn't score many goals and is clearly in pain after that rare effort.
So a great run, 7 wins out of 10, which took you to safety. I remember after the Charlton game, Lily Lawrence said you were far too good to go down, a team that should really be battling for promotion. It sounds like you two are full of confidence for next season.
Yeah, as I said before, I think we had three seasons, 3 periods of a season since I came. I can't really talk too much about before that, but we had the early form, where we were probably mid-table form, just stabilising things, getting the system that we expect, being unbeaten for those 10 games, 9 or 10 games. We then went through a disastrous spell of relegation form when we did hit rock bottom. And eventually that last run of games was I think, promotion form. So we've now got to maybe change 1 or 2 things. We've got to get a more settled squad, a stronger squad, probably delve into the transfer market somewhere along the line, maybe have to sell 1 or 2 as well. But set out next season on the starting line in August to have a push to get out of the second division, hopefully upwards. It's a very good club, this. There's a lot of heart around it, a lot of good people working at the club, a lot of care for it, and I believe it's a club that can go places. There's been a bit of reorganisation at obviously team management level. There's been reorganisation at boardroom level with Elton John going, new chairman, new directors, and a lot of relief about the place of just missing out on relegation. So all those things sort of put together hopefully will give us the push up the table and onto better things.
Willie Falconer's 3rd goal in 3 games leaves Watford out of the relegation zone for the first time since Boxing Day. A priceless winner for the Hornets not yet safe. Oxford, unbeaten in 15 matches, are looking for their 70th league goal of the season. But Watford have high hopes of a point, unbeaten at the Manor Ground in 20 years. There's certainly little evidence of relegation nerves. David James continues to impress in the Watford goal. While on the offensive, Gary Porter's explosive left foot is always a threat. Chances go begging at both ends until on the hour, when Paul Wilkinson demonstrates yet again his phenomenal goal-scoring instinct. A classic finish by a quality striker, and that's the goal that secures Watford's survival. Oxford's late rally can't deny the Hornets the victory that keeps them in Division 2 and wins Graham Taylor's vote as Barclays' performance of the week. What looked like a lost cause a mere 6 weeks ago has been turned into a great escape. It's mission accomplished for Steve Perryman. The final 90 minutes of the season provides a touch of light relief and plenty of goals, but not all in the right net. Bristol take the lead in the 48th minute. Nicky Morgan with the shot, and James, the player of the year, beaten by the deflection. It's colleague Barry Ashby who prevents James making this interception. Allison scoops the ball onto the bar, and Rob Newman can't miss the header. But Watford are nothing if not battlers. Gibbs swings over the corner, and Paul Wilkinson, who else, powers in the header. It's Wilco and out with a spectacular 25-yard volley. His 19th and final goal of a remarkable personal campaign. But the season ends as it began for Watford, in confusion at the back. Sloppy defending allows Llewellyn and May to carve out the opportunity. and Louis Donowa ghosts in unmarked. The final score 3-2 to Bristol City. Defeat for Watford in their final match of the season, but survival was all that mattered, and Vicarage Road can celebrate a successful bid to beat relegation, while relieved manager Steve Perryman can now think about promotion.
The dream of Steve Perryman, a First Division manager, that's got to be something that appeals to you.
Well, very much so, yes. Most of my career was spent playing in the First Division. I think the job at Watford is easier for me, although we were bottom of the second for long spells, easier for me as a manager rather than the Third Division, because the product out there being played was closer to what I knew as a player. I like players who can control and pass the ball to each other, and we've got a lot of players at Watford that can do that. I'd like to think that we can do good things, we can get ourselves up the table, but we can actually play a bit of football also. I still see it as a spectator sport. Those people on the terraces pay our wages. They deserve to be entertained. I don't think we can guarantee that we're going to win every game. But they should see a committed team out there, a fit team out there, and one that is trying to produce football. You have to bear in mind all the time that you've got opponents against you trying to stop you do certain things. But it's a very positive club, positive chairman, hopefully a positive set of players next season, and you know, hopefully we get the right result.
So Watford survived, 3 points clear of the dropping zone in the final analysis. Twice 7 points adrift of the pack. Steve Perryman's battlers were not short on spirit or skill. Gary Porter's left foot conjured up many memorable moments. Glenn Roeder proved a steadying influence. And the sheer power and determination of Wilkinson thrilled us all. The impudent skills of youngsters like David Byrne promise much for the future, as Steve Perryman takes stock before next season's challenge.
Hey, click here for more video. Hey, click, come on, click. Come on, bro. Done? Thank you. Thank you, come on, guys.